What's happening, everybody? Good to talk to you again. We are doing another sort of makeshift gear video here. I just finished up being part of a pit orchestra, band, whatever you want to call it, for the musical Footloose. The Monona Grove High School here in Wisconsin invited me to be the drum set percussionist for that show. I thought it would make another good opportunity to catalog the gear that I used for that particular gig. So here we go. As you can see, we're still using the same green sparkle Ludwig classic maple drums. Still traveling with those, and still absolutely loving to be, loving playing on them and getting to make music on them. Most people probably remember what the sizes are, but 24 by 14 kick, 14 by 6.5 snare, 12 by 9 rack tom, 13 by 9 rack tom, and two 16 by 16 floor toms, one tuned higher on my left and one tuned lower on my right. Those are the drums here. For this gig, I only felt like I needed one hi-hat. After doing a couple of rehearsals and, playing through the music a couple times, I didn't feel like there was anywhere that I would stand a particular advantage by having more than one hi-hat. And I felt like, given all the dynamics in the show, it made sense to go with the plague hat, so I had a little bit smoother of a sound, and one that was a little bit more easily controllable, wasn't as aggressive sounding. So I went with just the plague hi-hat. I still have my double pedal. I still have my pedal block. And only 3 pedals, fairly normal drum set, except for the left-hand floor tom. Just like the traveling kit that I took down south with the Ugly Cowboys. And again, just like that Ugly Cowboys kit, it's the same Pearl 2-leg eliminator hi-hat stand, same Ludwig double tom mount, double tom stand, and the same PDP 700 series cymbal stands to round out the kit. In terms of the rest of the cymbals, obviously you can see here I'm using the big and uglies. So I have the Nova and the Pandora on my left. I have the King and the Phoenix on my right. And also on my right, the farthest right cymbal is one of my most recent acquisitions. It's one of the Sabian Artisan Elite 22-inch cymbals. This was a cymbal that they made. They actually just recently stopped making this, and I'm not entirely sure why they stopped making it. But as soon as I found out about it and heard some recordings, I knew that it would fit perfectly with the big and uglies that I already have. And sure enough, it totally does. It fits right in with the same world of sound. And actually for this show, so I should say it's a medium heavy weight. It's probably closest in weight to the Pandora. It's also pretty close in profile to the Pandora. It's fairly, the bell is fairly flat, but fairly wide. And the overall shape is pretty bowed. The edge is definitely more bowed, than compared to like a cymbal like the Nova, which is just very flat. And for this show specifically, the Elite came in handy both. So it has the Elite cymbal. I forget the exact description, but I think they might call it something like single line lathing or something like that. So it is kind of lathed throughout the cymbal, both on the top and the bottom. I think they just take one pass at it, and when they take the one pass, it seems like they're pressing in pretty hard, because the tonal grooves are pretty deep, And so for this show, in the drum set part, there were a couple times where it was indicated that they wanted a cymbal scrape. And because the tonal grooves on the Elite are pretty deep, I was able to actually get a good cymbal scrape sound out of this cymbal, which was I was very glad that I had it there, because the other cymbals would not have given a good scrape. They're too smooth on the top. So the Elite came in handy for that. Also, because of the lathing, it opens up, especially, again, compared to like the Nova or the Phoenix. The Nova and the Phoenix are the two driest sounding cymbals of these 5. So I was able to use the Elite for a lot of the like timpani mallet, cymbal swells. Again, going for aiming more for kind of percussion effect, which is what was written into the score. And, just to talk a little bit about the Artisan line as a whole, from what I understand, the way that they differentiate the Artisan line from any of the other ones is, so the HHX line uses a fairly big hammer, as you can see actually on the Phoenix, which is right next to the Artisan Elite. They use a fairly wide hammer head or something like that. I think they call it peen, hammer peen. So the HHX uses a fairly wide hammer, which is why it tends to sound relatively dark. But when you compare the HHX hammer to the HH hammer, the HH hammer is much smaller, but there's many more marks. So the HH tends to sound a little bit darker than the HHX. Well, from what I understand, the Artisan line actually just combines them. So they have both HH and HHX hammering. And anytime you look at the live footage or at some of these still pictures, if you see a little bit of glare on the cymbal, I can definitely see. I'm talking about the Elite. If you look at the Elite, anytime you see glare, I do see both hammer marks that look bigger, like they could be about an HHX style of hammer, and also definitely a lot of small ones that look like they could be close to, if not the same as, an HH style of hammering. So, very happy I got that cymbal, and very happy I was able to use it on this gig. Also in these pictures, you can see, and in the footage, you can see my sort of percussion rack. It's my one cymbal stand with a bunch of other instruments. There were a couple of songs throughout the show that didn't have any grooves or anything like that. They just needed percussion type sounds, very orchestral or orchestral feel to them. And so after looking through the part and figuring out what instruments I needed, I was able to pull some of them out. So starting from the bottom, we have a set of wind chimes, which are mine. And it was definitely fun to get to pull these out, because I don't get to use them that often. So I got to bring out my wind chimes. You can see I have a triangle. That was also something I got to bring out for this. One fun thing that I did, because it turned out when I pulled the triangle out that I didn't have a triangle beater for it, so I used a screwdriver. It had about the same diameter and the same weight, and when I played it, it had a very similar metal on metal type of sound. So I was playing my triangle with a screwdriver, but whatever, it worked. And then above that is a pearl wood block that actually is not mine. I borrowed that from Monona Grove High School in order to do this. So I had the wood block, and then last but not least, I had my other recent acquisition, which is the top cymbal of a pair of 9-inch HH Radia Nano hi-hats. These were designed for and in collaboration with Terry Bozzio. He has a whole line of these radius cymbals, and I haven't used them yet as a hi-hat. I haven't had them that long, and I haven't gotten to mess around with them that much. I bought them with the aim. Every now and again, I do shows where an acoustic drum set would be too loud no matter how quietly I played it. And rather than trying to do like a whole gig just on brushes or like dowel sticks, sometimes what I do is I just take percussion, typically hand percussion. Whenever I've done that in the past, what I've done is I've taken usually a small 18-inch bass drum, 2 djembes, my set of 2 tabla, and then a hi-hat. And so I'm with my hands, I'm doing all hand percussion stuff. And but the addition of the bass drum and the hi-hat gives me just enough of a sort of drum set feel. Like I've figured out how to use the hi-hat both as a crash cymbal. Really, I use it in that context. I use it as a crash cymbal. I use it as almost like a shaker type of effect, and I also use it as a snare drum. If I just play it on 2 and 4, it gives it the same kind of, and especially with the bass drum opposite, I can build up the same kind of kick and snare patterns, but using a bass drum and a hi-hat. So I bought these nano hi-hats for that purpose. But I haven't had a chance yet to actually do that on a gig because I haven't played a gig where I use only hand drums yet. So the drum set part, as I was looking through it and putting this percussion setup together, it called for a splash cymbal, and I decided that the closest thing that I had to a true splash cymbal was the top of this hi-hat pair. And I mean, at the very least, I liked how it sounded. It sounded like it sounded pretty close to a splash cymbal, and nobody complained about it. So that's what we went with. We went with the top of a hi-hat, the top of a hi-hat as my splash cymbal. So that's this kit. And obviously, massive thank you to Carl Davik, and might be Davik. Actually, I'm sorry, Carl. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. But thank you to him. Thank you to Janet Heidman, and thank you to Evan Lange. I'm sorry, Evan. I don't know how to say your last name either. But thank you to those three for bringing me in and letting me play some drums. And also thank you to Peter and Alex and Aiden and Davin and Aaron for being awesome, for being excellent fellow pit members. It was a lot of fun to play with y'all, and I can't wait to do it again. And for everybody at home, thank you for tuning in again, and I'll see you next time.